Hi, welcome to Big Guy Boards. I'm Scott, this is a longboard. This is going to be a review of the Takayama Model T. So in the video I'll just talk about a bit of background about longboards and me and what my thoughts are on longboards. I'll go through some of the specs of this board and then I'll just talk through my own personal experience of riding it. Okay, so a lot of this channel so far has been centered around shortboards and reviewing shortboards, but I also want to start doing a few reviews on longboards. I learned on longboards, I rode them for years, and I really enjoyed it, and I think it's really influenced my surfing. I think it's really helped my kind of style of surfing, and I've talked in previous videos about me really kind of pushing into turns and things. I think some of that comes from riding longboards for so long and really kind of having to lean into turns there. So I personally think it's quite important to ride as many different types of boards as you can. So longboards, hybrids, fish, shortboards. I think it just makes you a more rounded surfer really, and I think it helps your style a bit as well. So yeah, I rode longboards for years. Generally kind of around 9 foot, more performance orientated boards, but also cruisers as well. So this I would class longboards in two categories. I'd say there's your more performancey based kind of refined longboards around, usually around the 9 foot mark, and then you get more of a cruisy longboard, usually single fins. I usually use those for kind of small days or average size days on quite a slow wave. So yeah, I'll talk through some of the features of this board. Okay, so I'm not going to talk through all the features of this board. As always, you can look that up on online on a website or another review. I'm just going to talk about some of the details of this board that stick out to me. First one, which I always find is really important with a longboard, is it's got to feel balanced, and the proportions have to feel right. I've ridden some longboards which I've absolutely hated. It's difficult to really nail down exactly what the problem is with some boards, but they just don't feel balanced. So whether it's the width is out of sync with the overall length and thickness of the board, or it's got too much change in width coming out to the tail, or quite a thin nose. I don't really like longboards generally with kind of thin noses, and so yeah, first of all, it feels really balanced. You can even kind of tell just by looking at it. It's got a really parallel rail going right down to the tail where it just kind of pulls in there. So that's the first thing that really stands out for me for this. So basically, my dad's got a shed full of longboards, and whenever it's small, I've got 6, 7 boards to pick from. I always go to this. This is my go-to board. One reason is it just feels really balanced and really nice. As I kind of mentioned, out of the two categories, it's definitely more of a cruiser. It's just a single fin, but that's exactly what I use it for. Really, this is for me on small days when I know I'm not going to have as much fun on my grovel board. Paddle-wise. Yeah, it paddles really well as well. Some boards for some reason just don't sit as well in the water and don't feel as good at paddling. This is it's completely effortless. It's epoxy as well, tough light, so it's really light. So that's one thing that I like as well. Obviously lugging it up and down the beach can be a bit of a pain, especially after riding predominantly short boards, but also although it's a single fin, and you can't do the same kind of turns you would do on a a 9 ohm or refined performancey board, you can still kind of throw it about a bit because it's so light. So you're not really, it's more throwing it about going down the line. So I find on small days you can actually kind of pump it a little bit, do a little, not proper tic tac, but you can pump it up and down the line and really throw it about for speed, which is good as well. So that's another reason I like this board. It's got a really pronounced nose concave, so that's I'm not sure how much you can see it in the picture, but it is it's quite a big concave in the nose there. Obviously that's to give you a bit of lift in the nose for nose riding. So generally if I'm riding this you know, I'm going straight, I'm walking up and down and nose riding it, and I find it a really easy board to nose ride. Again, a lot of longboards that I've ridden, some really feel unstable walking up and down the board. Even some wider boards just don't feel right. Obviously the width gives you more stability. This is a relatively wide board. So I have it just feels really easy to walk up and down, which again for me is great for your generally small days I'm doing. And again, nose riding as well feels relatively easy. On other boards I've ridden, yeah, for some, again, it's hard to exactly pinpoint why, but this just feels, yeah, really user friendly for those kind of things, really small cruisy waves. So yeah, I'll talk about just generally my experience using the board now. Okay, so one thing I haven't mentioned is dimensions of this board. The main reason for that is I don't actually know what the dimensions are. They're not written on the board. I haven't got them to hand. I'll check them. I'll put them in the description below. I know it's 10 foot. I'd probably guess, but I'd rather just write the actual dimensions below. So it's kind of a 10-foot cruiser. I've said I predominantly use it in, you know, quite small weak waves. Generally, if I know if I'm going to use my grovel board, I'm unlikely to get many good waves. I'd rather take this out, get loads of waves. Every time I take it out, I come out, you know, grinning from ear to ear. It's just, you know, I just have loads of fun on these on tiny days. So yeah, predominantly just down the line, doing a few little turns, and well, not proper turns, but you know, just kind of carving and cruising down the line. But a lot of kind of nose riding and stuff as well. But it's just a really easy to use, user-friendly board. I find I've taken this down the beach a couple of times when I thought it's going to be tiny, and there's a little pulse, and it gets to maybe chest high, maybe slightly above one day actually. So I've had to, one day, I usually take it down without a leash as well. I'm not really comfortable as soon as it starts, and this was at Croyd Beach as well, which is quite a punchy beach break. So I'm not really comfortable on a board like this in those kind of waves. I think on a punchy wave, the takeoff is much more tricky, obviously because it's relatively flat and so long. But on a longboard for waves like that, I'd probably be, you know, I'd be much more comfortable on like a more of a 9.0, slightly more rocker, slightly more refined, so I can kind of turn it a bit more easily and just help with the takeoff slightly. So yeah, for me, this is definitely more of a cruisy small wave board. I would go up to kind of chest, maybe even head high, a slower wave. So I've got another wave, a local wave to me. That's more of a kind of hot dogging, like beginner Malibu type of wave. So I'd ride that there, but definitely not a punchy kind of beach break. So yeah, just a great board for tiny, grovelly, fun conditions. Okay, I haven't mentioned the fin. So this is the style of fin that I've kind of ridden quite a lot when I've been longboarding. So this is a wing nut centre fin. I think this is 9, maybe 10 inches. I think there's some rule. The length of your board, so if it's a 10-foot board, ideally you want a 10-inch fin. Comment below if you know more detail on that rule. Yeah, so this is the kind of fin I often use. I like the bulbous tip here. I think it helps with nose riding. When you're nose riding, obviously the tail of the board is out of the wave a little bit. So if all your weight's on the nose of the board, the tail's up here, and this bulbous tip here I find helps with just a bit more holding when you're nose riding, just keeps you tracking nicely. But it's also slightly thinner down from that, which helps a bit with turns. So it's kind of, for me, it's kind of an all-round type of fin. So we've got kind of smaller versions of this similar fin as well. I haven't experimented that much with fins, but you know, that's just my experience of riding that one.